We've got the bus situated in the shop and it's home. It's going to sit here for quite a while we work on it. Let's dive in, guys. Let's get started. Only at Omega Auto Clinic do we work on buses and Lamborghinis in the same shop at the same time. Hey, whatever makes the bills get paid, you know? So you just saw the previous video on our 2006 Dorado Easy Rider 2 bus that's going to get converted to an RV. But before we could ever get started doing anything with RV type things, we have to first get the transit bus type stuff out of the bus. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be removing all the stripper poles because we're not going to be doing any stripping, Mrs. Wizard.
No, you're not.
No, we're not going to do that. We're also going to remove all the seats and get those things out so that we'll have room to start planning and looking at how things are going to lay out. And we got a couple of updates on the engine and the big air conditioner. So without further ado, let's dive in to getting some of these parts out of the interior. Let's head on inside. Well, we definitely had our work cut out for us, and it was quite a bit of work to get all this stuff out. I think that me and Mrs. Wizard actually removed literally 1,000 pounds of weight from that bus. All of these seats, all of the rails, all of these panels, wood blocks, all kinds of things that were part of the structure of the interior seating, which we won't be using. I counted 28 seats, so that means it was a 28 passenger bus. And these seats are going to be going to someone who's already emailed us. They want some of the seats. If you would like some of these seats, get a hold of the shop and you can arrange getting these picked up. You will be responsible for arranging getting these picked up. We will not do that here because they're free. I mean, if you want them, come and get them. I don't want these things. Let's head on inside the bus and look at it with all its glory, with all the stuff removed now. Guys, it's amazing how many bolts and screws and nuts and brackets and things that were in here. Just that alone is probably 100 pounds. Take a look at this little bench full of all this stuff. So here we go. We've got some plastic strips that cover wiring, some metal brackets. We also have some brackets that held up some of the railing. Tons of nuts and bolts and screws and nut plates. And then we have some paper trash. Receipts, business cards. There's like 3 or 4 business cards there. We've got some candy in case you're hungry. We also have $1.04. We actually made money today. And we have a lighter in case we want to just light this thing on fire, which we're not going to do. And we saved the best for last, the crown jewels. So with all those bolts and things removed, we also have all the panels, the rails, and the seats removed. Take a look, guys. So as you can see, it really opens up a lot of room. We're going to have to decide where we're going to put the little bathroom, the little table, dining table, a stovetop, a sink, cabinetry. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made here. This is actually where a lot of people that do bus conversions hit a roadblock. They get this far and then they're overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. And then it just sits. And 1 year goes by, 2 years go by, and then it's on Craigslist or Facebook for sale. So with everything cleared out, we have realized we've got a lot of work ahead of us. But we're not new to this game. Although we've never started with a blank slate like this, we've always had something to add on to or to change or move around. This is the first time that we can do what we want to do and put it where we want to put it as far as cabinets and sinks and whatever else we want to do. But there is tons of room to do whatever we want to do. You see back there, we're going to do the bedroom. There'll be 2 beds. And the reason why for 2 beds and not 1 is so it covers up the humps, which are wheel wells. There'll also be some storage under the beds to make use of the space. But then you can walk down the center and get into bed, stand up, do whatever, change clothes, and not have a big bed in the way. Obviously, we do have a problem with the windows. If you're into voyeurism, which we are not, this would be the bus for you. We'll be putting up some kind of drapes or curtains or blinds, or figure out what we're going to do with that, because when we want all the light to come in and scenery, we can open those up, but when we don't, we could close it down and kind of block off view into the bus. But you can hear the echo because this thing's got quite a bit of room. Most buses in the 60s, 70s, 80s are 96 inches wide, but in these years it moves up to 102. It's not drastically bigger, but you can definitely tell in the width there's a lot more room left to right on the bus. Up on top of me here is where there's ventilation for the AC system, which we'll talk about that here in a minute, but there's lots of wiring, air lines, hoses, heater hoses, and things that are ran through these. We can't just cut that stuff all down. So what we're going to do is just use the lighting and build around it. It actually looks nice. It's not something that looks ugly or hideous. These are old fluorescent lights, and obviously they're 12-volt ballast because we don't have this plugged into anything. But they're standard fluorescent bulbs, and I'll convert that to LED. It does have some LED strip lights for when they had advertising on here or whatever, but we'll put some panels up. This will be lighting for the bus. We're going to reuse those. So I'm going to talk about the air conditioner now. I actually have a person who has been contacting me through email who does these types of things for a living for multiple years. This is what they do. He has shown me some things on the air conditioning system, and after I've taken a look, I realized we may not be keeping it. Another person also commented, who has been doing this type of work for 40 years, said every time they do a conversion to RV, they delete the road air conditioner because it literally takes 30 horsepower just to run it. And for 2 people, it'll be overkill. We'll turn into icicles in here. So we may look into deleting some of it because I don't think it's operational. Let's head on up to the roof, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So here we are on top of the roof, and this is the air conditioning system. The guy I've been speaking with has told me this is the Thermo King Athenia air conditioning system. He says it's like 6 or 8 ton cooling capacity. When I try to run it, it blows air and does everything like it's supposed to, but it never engages the compressor, even though I have Freon filled up in it. And after I climbed up here, I'm finding someone has taken the fans out. I don't know if they're bad. And as I open those side panels, I look inside. There's some modules, some electronics missing. So it's so costly to fix this system that it's not worth it. Just put some RV rooftop units or mini splits and just call it good. So up here, I may be gutting some of the things that are in here. I'll still use the shell. I can store some electronics or things that I want to do with the RV, and they can stay up inside of here. So I won't be taking the shell off. It's very heavy duty, it's metal. I don't think I'll be using the AC part of it, but possibly the heat. So that's where we're at with this. So here we have this giant Thermo King, I think they call it an X426 or an X430 compressor. The clutch, the actual magnetic coil inside of this clutch assembly is dead. I'm also not getting very much voltage through these switches for the pressure switches, even going to the switches or coming out of them. It's like 1 volt. So something's wrong up top. And you can see this thing would literally take tons of power just to run. I don't think we're going to need that much cooling capacity. So that might be leaving. It's possible I might get a smaller automotive AC compressor just to run the AC in the front compartment. It has its own separate little system. And maybe somehow tie something in to keep it cool but not freezing cold in the back. I'm just not going to use this gigantic commercial system. It's broken. It's probably going to be thousands to fix it. And for half that or less, I can do something else. It'll also give us some more space in the back to do other things, like a generator or water tanks. But one thing I did notice is the bus would run fine for a while and then just stall. I know a little bit about these Cummins, the ISB or the 6BT is kind of a similar engine, not identical, but I thought, I bet the lift pump or the transfer pump has died. And it sure did. This is the old one, and it used to be located behind the engine computer, between the block and the computer bracket. Number one, I had to replace it because it's dead. Whenever I would turn the key on and just bump the starter, it should run and prime the system. It did nothing. I did verify that power and ground was coming from the ECM. It was powering it. It was just dead. It took me quite a while to get that thing out of there, and I thought, if I'm out cruising trying to go on vacation, I don't want to spend an hour or two fooling with that if the new one dies. So I relocated a pump. It's just like this over here. So I relocated the pump with some different hoses, and I ran the wiring over to it. You can see it here. I have a few zip ties just for further support, but it does have a metal bracket holding it on, just to keep it from wiggling too much. But it does the same thing. It pulls fuel from the tank through the ECM cooling, then into the pump and straight to the high pressure pump. Obviously it has filters. It has 2 very large filters in the system. But now if this thing were to fail, it's literally 10 minutes I can replace it. That one has 18 psi. That way it can supply more than enough flow and psi. Anything more than 14 just gets rerouted back to the tank, and that way it's kind of like a return system. But now I can change that on the side of the road very easily. I've already tried it. When I turn on the key and bump the starter, that thing kicks on, starts working immediately, and now it runs smoother, and it'll just sit here and idle all day long if I want to. I'm glad I caught it in time, because that can damage the high pressure pump, because it will run without the transfer pump, but it can stall at times and it can kill the pump. But now that's been taken care of, I don't have to worry about that again. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and it also means a lot of videos for you guys on this bus. It's very exciting. We're very much enjoying even so much what we've done so far, just removing the seats. Now starts the process of building it truly into an RV. If you guys have other tips or other ideas, you can let us know in the comments. Any kind of tools that we've used on the bus or any car in the shop, really. Check my Amazon affiliates, link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And if you want to keep up with what's going on here, you definitely have to hit the subscribe button, because there'll be kind of random here or there. You'll see updates on the bus. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.